A busy London street. The camera zooms in on a man holding a cup of tea. The iconic Big Ben stands tall. Every sip of tea, every spoon of sugar, every yard of cotton. Britain's modern life is tied to a hidden empire. An empire built not just on power, but on the labor and resources of colonies across the world. Archive footage and graphics show ships and trade maps, spices, slaves, and soldiers. From the 1600s onwards, Britain expanded across its continents. India, Africa, and the Caribbean became lifelines of wealth. Spices, sugar, tea, and textiles filled British markets, while the colonies paid the real price. Scenes of cotton fields, railways, and the Taj Mahal, with British officers appearing in the frame. India was called the jewel in the crown. Its cotton powered Manchester's mills, its railways served British trade, and its people lived under a system designed to extract, not to empower. Plantations appear, enslaved Africans cutting sugarcane, ships carrying barrels across the ocean. The Caribbean gave Britain its sugar, sweet for some, bitter for others. Enslaved Africans worked under brutal conditions, their labor enriching cities like Bristol and Liverpool. Mining visuals, colonial soldiers, and maps of Africa dividing territories. Africa's minerals, gold, and human lives fueled Britain's power. The empire's reach was not just about land, it was about reshaping entire continents for profit. Modern Britain comes into view. Indian restaurants, Caribbean carnivals, African markets, and diverse communities. But out of this painful history came something lasting. Britain's streets today echo with the voices, flavors, and traditions of its former colonies. Curry is a national dish. Carnival fills London with Caribbean music. African culture reshapes art and fashion. Montage of modern challenges, immigration debates, cultural diversity, economic ties. The hidden empire teaches us a lesson. History is not just about conquest, it's about connection. Britain's identity today is inseparable from its colonial past, painful, complex, but real. To understand the present, we must untold the past. The London skyline fades into maps of the old empire. This is Britain Untold, the hidden empire, where the past still lives in every sip, every street, every story. The empire was not just the trade and railways, it was also resistance, rebellion, and the struggle for freedom. From Gandhi's marches to Caribbean uprisings, colonies fought to reclaim their voices. Modern footage, Windrush ship arriving, and immigrants stepping onto British shores. And when the empire ended, its people did not vanish. They came to Britain, invited to rebuild after the war. The Windrush generation is carried not just hope, but the culture and strength of entire nations. Montage, multicultural London, mosques, temples, and Afro-Caribbean hair shops, Indian weddings. Today, Britain is a mosaic of its empire, diverse, vibrant, yet still wrestling with questions of belonging, racism, and identity. London skyline at sunset, fading into archival maps of the empire. The empire may be gone, but its echoes remain. In politics, in streets, in food, in families. To untold Britain's story, we must face this empire, not just as history, but as the foundation of the nation we know today. The silence in schools. A classroom in present-day Britain. Kids raise their hands, a history teacher flips through a book. Only a single paragraph about the empire is shown. Britain remembers its kings and queens, its wars and victories. But the empire, spanning continents, shaping millions of lives, is too often reduced to a page or ignored altogether. Cut to interviews of young people. Generations grow up without the full story, without knowing how their own family histories connect to Britain's global past. Voices of resistance. Archive footage. Gandhi leading Salt is March, Caribbean independence rallies, African freedom fighters in the 1960s. But in the colonies, the empire was never too silent. It was met with resistance. In India, Gandhi marched against salt taxes. In Jamaica, workers rose against exploitation. Across Africa, liberation movements demanded freedom. The empire cracked under the weight of the voices it tried to silence. The Return of the Empire's People. Black and white footage of the HMT Empire is Windrush ship docking in Tilbury, 1948. Smiling families step onto British soil. When the empire collapsed, its people came to Britain, not as subjects, but as citizens. They helped rebuild a war-torn nation, driving buses, staffing as hospitals, and working in factories. This was the Windrush generation, carrying with them of culture, music, and resilience. Montage. Nurses in the NHS, Caribbean jazz clubs in London, Indian corner shops. The empire's people were no longer far away. They were here, reshaping Britain itself. A multicultural Britain. Modern montage. Diwali lights in Leicester, Notting Hill is carnival dancers, African markets, mosques in Birmingham. Today, Britain is the inseparable from its empire. Curry is called the national dish. Carnival fills London with Caribbean rhythms. African and Asian communities bring new traditions, new voices, and new strength. But contrast appears. Protests about racism, debates about immigration. And yet, conflict remains. Immigration, identity, and belonging are still questioned. The legacy of empire is both a celebration of diversity and a reminder of wounds that have not fully healed. Closing reflection. Slow pan over the London skyline at dusk. Big Ben, mosques, Caribbean food stalls, Sikh weddings. The hidden empire was never just about conquest, it was about connection. It reshaped Britain's streets, families, and future. To understand modern is Britain, we must look back, not with nostalgia, but with honesty. Because the empire is not gone. It lives on, in every sip of tea, every street we walk, every story we share.